One of the things you might wonder about when you're planning your first Camino is, how do I pay for stuff? How do I get access to cash, to money, whilst I'm walking the Camino? All will be revealed this week, coming right up. Okay, so I'll share with you the different ways that you can pay for things on the Camino, how you can access funds, how I do it, and also at the end I'll share a link to a budgeting video that you might find useful, how to work out how much you need for your given Camino. Okay, so things have changed a little bit, pre-COVID, post-COVID. Are we post-COVID yet? I'm not sure. But the Camino has always been very much a cash economy. Why is that? Because you're walking a lot of the time through rural areas, you're dealing with small businesses and little villages. They don't have FPOS machines and they don't want the extra expense of having that sort of equipment, and they deal with cash day to day anyway. So it's always been very much a cash economy, but it's changing a little bit due to COVID primarily, I think. So I'm getting reports back now over the last couple of years that a lot more places are taking plastic, some form of card, and even some places are taking sort of pay by phone type technology. So let's walk through the various ways that you might access funds. So easiest one of all, of course, is folding cash. And as a rule of thumb, I generally carry 2 to 3 days worth of cash on me. I carry it in this very expensive wallet, very lightweight. I won't tell you where I carry it, but obviously, security is very important to think about that. And I only carry what I need for the day readily accessible. Any other funds are not readily accessible. So I'm carrying 2 to 3 days of cash. How do I get that? I use a pretty regular bank card, ATM card. However, whatever sort of card that you use to withdraw cash, it's going to change depending on your country and where you're based. So for example, I'm based in Australia. If I withdraw cash from my credit card, I pay a very high interest rate on all outstanding balances on my card. I know in the US, for example, there's some very good deals on different cards. What I actually do now is I carry a debit card, and I have a bank account in euros. So it's a permanent euro account with a card. It's a debit card. It's also an ATM card. And it's a great way of saving for the Camino. So every time I have a little bit of cash, I put it into my euro account, and I can build up funds for my Camino. I know exactly how much I've got in euros. When I use that for paying for anything, I'm not paying currency conversion fees and so on. Just a couple of words of warning if you're accessing ATMs for cash. Have a backup card. I actually carry a couple of backups. Not that I've ever had it happen, but sometimes ATMs eat cards. So do have some sort of backup bit of plastic with you. The other thing is, and it's a good bit of advice that someone gave me years ago, if you're going to access an ATM in a little village in Spain somewhere, try and access it during banking hours, so that if there's a problem, you can go into the bank and they'll solve it for you. You know, if it's early on a Sunday morning and something goes wrong, what are you going to do? So that's cash. So I tend to be paying for incidentals, meals and things like that with cash. On my next Camino coming up very soon, I'll probably find that I'm using more plastic. So that gives us then the other option, credit cards, debit cards and things like that. More and more places are taking plastic. Of course, many places have always done that, particularly larger hostels and hotels and larger restaurants and places like that. So generally wherever I can use plastic and it's my debit card, then I'll use it to preserve my cash, and it means I don't have to go to the ATM so much. Pay by phone technology, I'm a little bit behind on that. I have just set it up on my phone and I'll be trying that out on my next Camino. So we'll see how we go with that. Just lastly, I would mention in terms of backup, so you're carrying your cash, do have 2 or 3 days worth with you. I would suggest there are lots and lots of ATMs, but you're going to be coming through villages maybe that don't have ATMs. So think about that, have a look in the guidebooks. Have a look on some useful websites like Gronza to see where ATMs are located. If you have 2 or 3 days cash, you should be all right. If you're going to use plastic, that's great. Have a backup. So I'm using my debit card to pay for things. I also carry a credit card just for emergencies. If for some reason the debit card doesn't work, if I lose it, then I've got something as a backup. So there we go. Pretty simple, really. You know, as many people will say, you're walking across an extremely civilized country with banks and, you know, all sorts of regular payment systems, so it generally isn't a problem. Just remember that in small villages in the country, you may need to be paying for things with cash a little bit more than in the larger towns. So there we go. If you have any questions about that, do comment down below. And if you're an experienced pilgrim, do comment down below about how you pay for things. Are you finding it's a lot easier to use plastic now or pay by phone technologies? Thanks for watching. Oh, and we'll put up that link for budgeting, which you might find useful, how I go through my budgeting process for Caminos. Thanks for watching. Bye for now, and see you next week. Thank you.